Okay. Well, welcome everyone. We're glad you were able to join us. Like I just said, my name is Dan Bromberg. I'm the Director of Academic Programs for the Carsey School of Public Policy. I also teach within our three master's programs. I'm also joined today by two of our students, so one alum and one current student, and we'll introduce them just after this presentation. They are both returning Peace Corps members, and came to Carsey, and I'd like to share their experience. They'd like to share their experience both at Carsey and how it relates to their service in the Peace Corps. So we'll get to that in just a few minutes. First, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of our programs. So why the Carsey School? What's so great about the Carsey School? Why would we want you all to come to the Carsey School? Ultimately, Carsey has a handful of different opportunities and experiences for our students. There are some Carsey research centers that focus on, community development finance, vulnerable families, demography. So really touching on a number of different areas that are essential to public policy. We also engage in advocacy and some engagement. So we have a center called New Hampshire Listens, and they engage with communities across the state and across the region, and really try to build, civic health and community awareness. And they take on challenging issues across the state. They're issue agnostic, so it doesn't really matter what the issue is. They're there to help you solve that problem. And a really cool opportunity that some of our students have engaged with. We produce a good amount of research, and it comes out. We have an entire kind of publication system that we produce that through. So some really interesting stuff around all of those topics. We also have our three academic programs, which we're here to talk to you about tonight. We really do believe in applied hands-on learning. So there's a lot of experiential learning opportunities throughout all of our programs. We have a master's in public policy program. We have an MPP-JD dual degree that some of our students interested in law actually opt to do. We have a master's of public administration, which is online. And we have our master in community development, which is currently being delivered online, mainly in response to the pandemic, but our students are really enjoying that aspect. And we'll discuss what that looks like in the future as well. So the master's in public policy. Really, the way that we think about public policy is the development, advocacy, communication, and analysis of public policy. And really, that's kind of what the students are learning in this program. Really, before that policy becomes a piece of legislation, before that policy hits the ground, it's how do you design that policy? How do you advocate and get the right people on board to support that policy? And when time comes, how do you do a policy analysis after the fact? It's a 40 credit program. It is our only in-person program at this point. So students tend to come in a cohort model. From an experiential point of view, our students spend a week in Washington, D.C., and they go to meetings from first thing in the morning until late into the evening, meeting with policymakers from the White House to the Pentagon, to those that are outside of government and just working, whether it be through lobbying or any other advocacy. A really, really rich experience for our students. They also have a capstone project and an internship to really, get them engaged with policymakers and policy experts. Our Master's of Public Administration degree is an online degree. We have two options there. We have an executive program, which I'll talk about in a second, and a traditional program. We really think about this program as that where the rubber really meets the road. These are students that are taking more of an organizational perspective, I would say, and they are working that policy through implementation, right? So the policy has already been passed. It's coming through into the executive branch, and our students at that point get their hands on it and really have so much to do with the implementation of that policy. That happens obviously at the local level, it happens at the state level, and it obviously happens at the federal level as well. In addition to that, we have a lot of students that are engaged in the nonprofit sector, across the state and across the region, that are also implementing public policy. Meaning their work is very much central to the public service. And I would say that our Masters of Public Administration program is really split between both public sector employees and nonprofit sector employees. There's an executive program for those of you with a bit more experience, 5 years of experience in the public or nonprofit sector. And then there's our traditional MPA program. It's a difference of 2 courses, so either 10 courses versus 12 courses. These are run in what we call e-terms, and they run throughout the entire year up until about midsummer. And then we take about a month break from July 15th until August 15th, and then we start up again. Ultimately, you're running, 8-week courses, and students tend to take, 1 or 2 of those per e-term. So depending on your pace, you're able to finish typically within, 12 months or so, possibly a little bit less, depending if you're in that executive program or not. And there's a fall and a spring start for that. Our Master in Community Development, which actually both of the students who we have on tonight with us have either been through that program or are currently in it, really is what I think of as more of our ground up type program, right? So these are students that are interested in community development at, typically the local level, but with that, the idea of building coalitions, bringing together different partners, right? So not necessarily just working through government, working with other nonprofit organizations, working with for-profit organizations, and really focusing on building those coalitions, building those networks to accomplish, the work that needs to happen on the community level. Some of this, is based in community development finance, but we have a lot of students that are engaged in environmental development, and some might be leaning more towards the policy side of things. Really what's central to this program is what we call, and it's highlighted right here, our project series, which is a set of 4 courses, which engage students in their whole capstone process. So what do I mean by that? From start to finish, they design a community-based project, and then they do needs assessments within that community to help figure out what that community needs. They go through that process all the way to the end, where their final course is actually an evaluation of the project they did. So unlike other programs that you might see a capstone project happen at the end as that culminating assignment, in the Masters of Community Development program, it starts right at the beginning, and it takes you through to the end of the program. So a really a unique opportunity, I would say, for students, and just a way to really get engaged with the community. It's a 36-credit online program right now, 9 core required courses, and then some electives along with your capstone. We also, like to point out to students that for the most part, you can combine any of your master's degrees with any one of these graduate certificates. And in some of our programs, it wouldn't take you any more time or cost you any more money. So in our MPP, for example, you could take a data science graduate certificate, pair that with your MPP, and spend exactly the same amount of time and same amount of money as you would by just getting your MPP. So it really, for those of you that are interested in data science and analytics, it not only adds value in the knowledge, but then adds value with the credential as well that you're going to walk away with. Here are a few of our alum that are working out there in the field. We really do have a very diverse alumni base, both working throughout New England, but also across the United States and internationally. So some of our students are doing pretty amazing things. And we're lucky enough to be joined by 2 of them tonight, and I'll let them share their stories. As far as admissions goes, pretty standard stuff: transcripts, personal statement, recommendations, and we're happy to kind of talk about that if anyone has specific questions. Tuition, once again, happy to follow up with that. I will say Carsey does offer scholarships, and fellowships, so something to consider when you're looking at that cost. There really are ways to offset it. And certainly if you are, a returning Peace Corps member, we are proud to partner with all of these different organizations. But for our Coverdell Fellows Award, you would receive $8,000 education award towards your tuition. So that's a 30% reduction of tuition costs. We waive our fee of that $65 application fee. So really a straightforward process as far as, just applying, and then we work with you to make sure that you receive that education award. So I do want to make sure that I save time for our guests who have joined us this evening. So let me stop right there, and I will stop sharing my screen and introduce our guests.
And they've posted, we have 3 return Peace Corps volunteers, and they've posted where they served in their name line.
Awesome, thank you, Robin. So I just lost my view, let me do that. Sorry, so we're joined by Alena, Katie, and Amanda. So why don't I turn it over to you? I'll start with Alena. If you could just introduce yourself, and if you're either a student or an alum and where you're at, that would be great.
So hi everyone, my name is Alena Klimas. I'm based in Asheville, North Carolina, and I just finished up the MCD program that Dan was just talking about. And let's see, I served in Peace Corps in 2017 to 2019. So Carsey followed my Peace Corps service pretty closely. I served in Morocco. I'm excited to be here with my other RPCVs.
Awesome, thank you. And Katie, why don't I turn it over to you?
Hello, I'm Kate Michalovic. I served in Peace Corps Ethiopia from 2013 to 2015. Started my master's right after that and graduated in 2017. Currently living in Randolph, Vermont.
Awesome, thanks, Katie. And Amanda, how about yourself?
Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm in Shoreham, Vermont, also in Vermont. I served in Peace Corps Senegal from 2013 to 2015. Sorry for the background noise. And yeah, happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much to the 3 of you for joining us. So Amanda, why don't we could start with you, and then same question for all 3 of you. So could you kind of talk about what attracted you to MCD, to the Master's of Community Development, and if you saw that, relating to your service at all, and, if there was a connection there at all that you could talk about?
Yeah, sure. So I was a sustainable agriculture volunteer in Senegal, and here in Vermont, I own a farm with my husband, but I saw a problem within my community, and I was at the same time looking at graduate programs, and I came upon this program. And I'm sorry for the background noise. I have a daughter in the background. That's actually getting to my next point, is that so anyways, sorry, one second. But I love the flexibility of this program. If you have a family, or if you have a full-time job, this program is really great. But getting back to my first point, I just really love being able to do the coursework and then actually being able to apply that into the community, and really applying community development skills, and then just gaining hands-on experience within my own community, professional experience that I think is invaluable. So that's what drew me to the program.
Cool, thank you. Alena, how about yourself?
Yeah, so when I was in Peace Corps, actually, I originally thought I was going to do international development, and I went to Peace Corps and I'd studied Arabic and served in Morocco. And then I was placed in a really rural site in the High Atlas Mountains. And a lot of the time I was there, I kept thinking a lot of the problems were really similar to where I grew up in West Virginia and at home. And so it just kind of struck me as interesting that there was so much overlap between that international and like community development in the US. I came back and I started working with a nonprofit called the Appalachia Funders Network. And again, just kept seeing very similar problems to that I had seen throughout my Peace Corps, like with rural areas, brain drain, lack of hospitals, there's not a lot of professional development opportunity for people or like good jobs. And I kept thinking about all those things and working in a nonprofit. And, you know, after like 6 months of working in a nonprofit back at home, I kept thinking, hey, this is great, but I'd really like to go deeper and actually learn from, you know, experts and find out more about what I'm doing in my day to day and like get better at it than what I could get in my job. And so I looked through all the Coverdell programs, and Carsey really just stood out to me because you were able to do a project in your community, the capstone that, you know, Amanda and Dan talked about. It's great. It actually fits into your life and it's super relevant. And while it is flexible, it's also just a pretty intense year, and you're digging pretty deep into an issue. And I found it to be really valuable and actually useful. And for me, that was really important. It's hard for me to do well at schoolwork if I don't think it's useful. But I came out of this program feeling like I had community development finance chops, which was very exciting because I didn't have that before. So for me, that was kind of the track I took, and I really enjoyed my time at Carsey. And it definitely helped me land a new position after graduating. So super thankful for that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, really cool. And how about yourself, Katie?
Yeah, so I was an education volunteer in my Peace Corps service, and in that time, I actually taught project design and management to a college in my town. So at the end of my service, I was really looking for opportunities to do international development or community development. And as Amanda and Alena said, I was really drawn towards the MACDAP program because of that capstone and being able to do the hands-on work while studying. And it lined up perfectly with what I was planning to do after I got back to the States.
Yeah, very cool. Could you talk about that a little bit, Katie? So the capstone, and then I'll come to the Amanda and Alena. Alena, sorry. So could you kind of talk about that capstone, like what you've decided to do, you know, and kind of the specifics of it, so we can get a sense of what that really looks like?
Yeah, so for my capstone project, I incorporated it in my year as an AmeriCorps Vista. I served at a nonprofit that was doing food security. I was already passionate about food security, so my capstone was on how food security leads to financial stability. And yeah, it was just awesome because I was able to do my actual job as an AmeriCorps and do my capstone at the same time.
Yeah, very cool. I think the idea of kind of coupling both of them, you know, not only it kind of alleviates the stress of having to get out of your world and finding something else, but I think it also, you know, it adds value to the world that you're already engaged with, which I think is a really cool aspect of this. Alena, how about you?
Sure. So about my current position, or
no, your capstone. I think just specifics of the capstone and kind of how that played out for you a little bit.
Sure. So first, I came in with what I thought was a very clear picture of a capstone, and it changed a lot of times. But that's that flexibility where we were talking about. So I also was interested in food security, but that really wasn't the need in my nonprofit and the need for the area I was working in. So I refocused and focused in on my actual company and like nonprofit, and did a really more of an organizational management type project about the nonprofit that then they were able to use as kind of like a strategic planning document. And it was focused on national philanthropy in rural areas. So just finding ways to like make better connections and be more efficient in our community. And yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And Amanda?
Yeah, so my project, my capstone project started, so like I said before, I'm a producer, I'm a beef farmer in Vermont. And from that, I recognized a problem within my community, and I reached out to a nonprofit in my region, and together they ended up being my community partner, and we ended up developing a online local food market from the problem, which was farmers don't have the ability to access markets locally or regionally because of distribution issues. So from that project, it sort of kept growing into something bigger than what I had imagined at the beginning. And so that was kind of cool to see community partners sort of keeping like relationships building within the community, which I didn't think was possible before this project. So yeah, and it's also being a farmer and also a community member, it allows me to be also affected by this project. So that is, instead of in Peace Corps, sometimes you have projects where you're affecting the community and then you leave, where this is in your community and you're a part of it. So the impact is just, you really feel it. So I think that for me is kind of the coolest thing about the project, the capstone project.
Yeah, awesome. The three of you have kind of mentioned Peace Corps a little bit. Just kind of dig with one more question related to that. So were you able to marry kind of the skill sets and things that you learned in the Peace Corps? Did they kind of emerge in the community development program? Was there a connection between those skill sets? Just kind of curious how they developed, once you came into MCD. Alena, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So during my Peace Corps, I was a youth development volunteer, and we did some project management. We did, I had done one grant and during my Peace Corps service, but it was just very sort of, like high level. It wasn't really a deep dive into any of those topics. So Peace Corps really kind of opened my eyes to the way nonprofits and like international development work. And it really allowed me to like get a foot in the door with a nonprofit. I had written a grant, I had done a little bit of project management and all that. But then I would say the program really was that next step, that like next level of like getting deeper into the finance or into grants or into project design. And I thought it was a really complimentary experience, kind of like how Amanda and Katie have both said. It was, it was just like a natural step, it felt like. And the Carsey School, because it's so locally focused, it could be you could be doing a capstone anywhere. We had, classmates who were doing them in rural Vermont or rural West Virginia. And we also had classmates that were doing them like in big cities in New York or also abroad. And so that's what felt really like natural and exciting for me about the program. And was similar to Peace Corps. Like when you're in Peace Corps, you have service members all over the country doing totally different things. And you all sort of come together and have really interesting exchanges. And this program felt like that as well.
Yeah, cool. I love the, I think cohorts are just a really important part of education. And I think, certain programs, it doesn't work, right? You have students who are part-time and they're kind of all over the place, and that's okay. But I think the focus on the cohort and MCD is kind of a great way to just elevate the community development, because to some degree, not only are you engaged in your community doing work, but then you're also you're building this community, in the program too. So I feel like there are a lot of pieces that just kind of coalesce around those ideas. So Katie, I saw you shaking your head a bit as far as further developing the skills and some of the things that Alena was saying. So curious your thoughts there.
Yeah, I would definitely say that the MAC'd Up program furthered my skills that I learned in Peace Corps. As an education volunteer in Ethiopia, we learned about needs assessments. We had to spend our first 3 months at site doing that. And as I said previously, I did project design and management, which I facilitated while I was in Ethiopia. So I had some knowledge about community development and like how to do a project and make it successful, but the MAC'd Up program just really took it to that next level.
Awesome. Amanda, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I completely agree with Katie and Alena that it really was a natural progression from Peace Corps to this program. For me, it was, for both community development project, like, in Senegal, but also in my own community in Vermont, it's integrating into the community, and then having that research, like interviewing people and gaining that trust. And so like, those are like the initial skills I think I got from Peace Corps. So then, I brought those were also just as important within this capstone project as, it's universal, like having trust within your community and to be able to sort of understand the problems within the community. So on a very sort of simple level, like I think that really helped with the research, which is a huge part of this project design process. So yeah, I'm grateful for that experience.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, I love that we give this award, just because I think so many people are engaged in this type of work, and being able to bring these two experiences together, and not only kind of build on the foundation that you all have developed in your service work, but kind of solidifying that foundation a little bit, so you could just build that much further. I think is really cool. I'm aware of time, and I just want to make sure that we get some Q&A in if there are any questions. So we're also joined by Robin Husledge, one of our colleagues here at Carsey. So if there are any questions, I'd like to open it up to that, and Robin was going to help us field those questions.
Great, thank you. I don't have any questions posted here right now, so but I do have a question, I guess, for all of you. In the process of coming into the program, going through your capstone project, and then the culminating event being your presentation of your capstone, and then watching all of your peers, what other, I guess, experiences in the program do you think back and say, oh, that was like was a favorite course, or different aspects of the program that stand out to you, with the capstone, of course, being the foundation of the program? Alena, do you want to share any, I guess, takeaways of different, different classes, or aha moments that you had going through the program?
Yeah, I never thought I would say this, but the spring finance class was probably the one I liked the most, just because our professor really understood that we're not all finance people, and brought us some really good, I felt like, budget analysis and just like spreadsheets, always made me a little nervous, but like the class was really helpful, and just really opened my eyes to feeling comfortable about doing budgeting and doing finance. Again, shocking, me 3 years ago would not have said that, but this program really helped me feel confident in that side of community development, which I would say was like my weakest link, and now is just up there with all the others.
That's awesome. I felt the same way, actually, when I went through the program. I was like, no, not finance. And Robbie Van Rykel is just amazing. He just makes everything so simple and just logical.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that course as well, very much. How about you, Amanda? What other aspects of the program really stood out to you?
I think for me, I really liked like the core 4 classes with Jolan and Sanjeev. I just felt like I just love the continuity of those classes, and they're just such, all the professors are great, but I think I always felt like they just cared so much about the capstone projects, and I was always so impressed about how much they knew about my project. I'm like, oh, did I tell you that? I was like, oh yeah, and they're just so invested, and so for me, just that really made the program for me, was those 4 classes and the relationship with those 2 professors who are just so supportive of everything. So yeah, I mean, for me, that's what stood out.
They're by your side from start to finish through the whole process. And any questions, or any life happens, things get complicated, things don't work out as you expect, and they're there to help guide you to the next step in a different, way to go. So yes, they're phenomenal faculty. How about you, Katie? Were there, going way back, because you've been out for a while and away for a while. Is anything come to you from going through the program that you recall?
Yeah, I have to second what Amanda said, that those core 4 classes are really amazing. I find myself using a lot of the skills in my work that I do today, which I'm really grateful for.
I
Awesome.
definitely agree. I think also there's skills that you can take and apply to anything. It doesn't have to just be even community development, but the universal skills that you can use for any job that you have, any position. So, well, thank you.
Yeah,
So
thank
that's
you.
all.
Thank you to the 3 of you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. Thanks, Robin, for jumping on and helping out. And thank you to everyone else who joined us. We appreciate all of your time, and we look forward to answering any questions that might take place in the future. So take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.